Hey y'all, welcome to UnScripted. Is it too late to talk about Avengers Endgame? Maybe, but if this video somehow convinces somebody to go out and see Endgame again, just to take that sweet highest grossing film of all time title from Avatar, I'll do whatever it takes. Watch Endgame, beat Avatar. So since you saw the title, you probably already know that I wanted to talk about what seems to be the key word when describing this movie, and that is finality. For the most part, I believe every single one of the original 6 Avengers gets perfect closure for their arcs. Echoing that first argument on the helicarrier in the Avengers, Tony is finally the one to make the sacrifice play. And Cap, God bless him, finally gets to rest. As does Bucky, who himself has grown tired of war by having the mantle passed to Sam. Back to the original 6, although it wouldn't have hurt to see more of a lead up to it, Banner proves that the Hulk is as much a hero as he is by making the first snap. Thor realizes the true nature of his character and sees that the role of king is not meant for him in a more traditional sense. It never was. Clint gets to rest with his family, and Natasha gets to save hers by proving that she's far and away beyond those who made her into a weapon. The biggest takeaway here is that we see everyone's true nature, whether in response to a higher duty or not, and which it is in response to tells you even more about them. However, there was something bugging me coming out of my first viewing. Nebula's arc. Don't get me wrong, I love Karen Gillan. She's even on my short list of famous people I'm allowed to cheat with, given the chance. Shout out to my wonderful girlfriend for allowing me to say that on this public platform. I love you 3000. Anyway, from the point that Thor cut off Thanos' head in the prologue, I felt like Nebula had no motivation and no direction. I mean, her self-stated end goal was, I'm going to kill Thanos as revenge for what he did to me. It's pretty slick, clean, and easy to understand. On the second go-around, though, I realized that was never her biggest obstacle. Today I'm going to be breaking up my discussion into 2 parts. Not 2-part videos, no, that's the worst. First off, I'm going to be breaking down how writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely deconstructed Nebula to the essentials, and 2, how we, as a community of writers, can do the same for our characters, even if we don't have 11 years and 22 films to back it up. So, part 1. The number one thing I think everyone always misinterprets about Nebula after seeing Endgame, or generalizes for the sake of brevity, is that revenge is a trait she possessed originally, when it was more likely bestowed onto her by Thanos. I mean, it's literally past Nebula's last lines. You can change. He won't let me. But she wants to. Even then. Think about this. What we've seen of Nebula is a very, very small fraction of her life, where she was never allowed to grow and develop, and rather, she was beaten, rebuilt using spare parts, and was always looked down upon despite what victories she managed to grab under Thanos. Meanwhile, throughout each film in the franchise in which they appear, both Cap and Tony have fundamental flaws that are allowed to be corrected 10 times over. For Tony, that is his arrogance and underlying self-doubt that is always pushing him to build and improve, to the point that it almost alienates him from his allies. We see after Iron Man 3 that he claims to have beaten his demons and is living a healthier life, but that anxiety of living up to the image that he creates for himself never works out, and he overcorrects. Examples being the Ultron program and signing the Sokovia Accords. In his failures, we see that his true fatal flaw is that he is always never a perfect man. Not for his lack of trying, though. That's why we finally see him settle down with a family in Endgame, and why he, quote, still isn't able to rest, to quote Pepper. Cap is in that exact same boat, trying and never giving up the morals and the resilience he was raised on, in order to live up to the legend that is Captain America. Lifting the hammer was a signal that he had the right to lay down his shield. But what's that all got to do with Nebula? From what little we actually get to see her develop, her whole arc in Endgame is a literal battle with her past self, who she once was and who she's capable of being. By putting the two side by side, we see some striking similarities. We see doubt in her own abilities when she's confronted by Thanos. But more importantly, we see shame for 2014 Nebula when she fears she may betray Thanos, and 2023 Nebula when she retrieves the Power Stone with ease because she feels no pain due to her robotic replacement. Her conversation with Rhodey is honestly one of my favorites in the entire film. As she says, "I wasn't always like this." And Rhodey retorts, "Me either, but we work with what we got." She remembers what she was before Thanos, but never lets herself believe that she can get back to that. It's not Gamora, it's not Rocket, it's none of the Guardians' core team. It's Rhodey that tells her that she isn't a burden unto herself. Someone that can finally view her situation with a sort of objective, albeit very narrow lens. Her constant attempts to kill Thanos, that drive and complete and utter failure each time, even in combat trials with Gamora, her entire goal was self-validation, not justice. The film asks a great question, one that's key when structuring it within a cinematic universe that's constantly expanding and growing. How do you make a character grow once they finally reach their stated goal? Simple. You make them realize that that is not their actual goal. That, I believe, is the core concept to writing a deeper, more complex character. Here's where the writing part comes in. We're always told that our characters need a goal driving them throughout the story. That's what makes for an active protagonist. But it's tricky, resigning a character's self-stated goal throughout the entire film to revolve around X concept. Their beliefs, their likes, their dislikes, all should be somewhat thematically resonant with their goal, otherwise they seem extraneous and more like filler. For example, a struggling mother of 3 is trying to hold down a stable job while also working her way through med school, but also she likes to play the piano on the side. What does the piano have to do with anything? Is it just an extraneous conflict? What does it tell you about her? On the surface, it might seem like a complete waste of time to dedicate any amount of screen time to this very bizarre and sudden hobby. It's like hearing a campfire story. It doesn't matter what the couple was doing at Lover's Lane on a stormy night in the middle of nowhere, what they first liked about each other, what they were doing before here. All we care about as an audience is what's going to happen to them, with the monster hiding just beyond the tree line. Long story short, if you or your character only has one explanation as to why they're doing something within a scene, we're only watching to see if they succeed at that single stated goal or not. Rooting a character's true goal within the frame of another, slightly more manageable goal, i.e. coming to terms with your own failings versus killing Thanos to prove the same, doesn't equal a derailment of the character's journey. It's a realignment. But those are just my thoughts on one of the less discussed parts of Endgame, and why I think it's the textbook example of everything the MCU does right. Thanks for watching. I really like doing these shallow deep dives, so I think I'm going to be doing more. I know for sure the next UnScripted is going to be covering the latest crop of Star Wars films about a topic that either you are going to love or hate. Yay! So be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified when it comes out. Thanks for watching. Bye!